Hey, this is Anney.
And Samantha.
And welcome to Stuff I Never Told You, a production of iHeartRadio.
And welcome to another happy hour where I talk about things.
I'm so excited.
That's all I got.
This for me,
did,
and I have no idea what it is.
I'm excited to see what you know, and I'm also excited to hear from our listeners because I know you all will have opinions on this. But before we start, this is a happy hour. If you do any of the happy hour things, do so responsibly. Anney, are you doing anything responsibly?
I am. We're recording pretty late right now. So.
Yeah, this is dinner time, actually.
I'm still working on some of the wine my mom gave me for my birthday and for Christmas. She gives me bottles of wine. So yeah.
Yeah, well, nice. Enjoying that. Well, I am sticking to my diet, Dr. Pepper cream soda or zero. That is one of my favorites right now, giving me a little bit of pep because we have been recording for a minute and we were going in late. And I woke up early because I went to bed early last night, Anney.
Oh, yeah?
Like 9:30. It was surprising. Like the entire household, my partner and my dog and I went to bed that early. We fell asleep. It was odd. All of that to say, yes. So we are not currently sponsored by anything, including what I'm about to talk about, but it has a lot of controversy. So, Anney, have you ever heard of Focus Friends?
I have not heard of that. No.
Okay, so this is an app that was created by Hank Green. Do you know Hank Green? Do you know Hank Green?
I do.
He's kind of our, I guess, younger generation of like Bill Nye the Science Guy level of like with different levels of information and such. Anyway, so he with developers and other creators started this app or created this app for the intention that it would help you stop doom scrolling. So because people do so much, including myself, that he's like, hey, what if we give them something cutesy and something to do, like occupy their phone so they can't get to it, so they won't scroll so much. So essentially, and I'm describing this on my own without looking at the app, and I'll pull it up for you in a minute. But like, essentially what this is a bean that you name.
Okay.
That knits. And in that time, while it knits for however long you set it, it creates a certain amount of socks. And then you can take these socks and turn it into like transactions to create and decorate their room. So it is only one room right now. I just got an update and there's now a living room. So you can do that. Because I was like, what happens when you finish doing this? And I finished it because when I get focused on something, I truly focus on it. But people are actually very upset about this because a lot of the knitters in the knitter world are like, hey, what? Because they decided to add a paid part to this app because there's no ads thus far. That if you want to pay a subscription or if you want to pay a thing, they will give you access to be able to make scarves, which is more in value and harder to do than the socks. Immediately. Do you already know?
Outrage.
Knitters around the world were like, hey, it's way more difficult to make socks than it is to make scarves. And that is very, 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 very true. Because I have made a small scarf in my 3-month focusing of trying to knit. And I say a scarf, I just mean just a pattern of rectangle. And it's still like tied off to my ball of yarn because I don't know how to end things because I didn't get that far. I need to pick it back up because but it's a thing. But it's very difficult. So to actually make a pattern like a sock, it takes a lot of intricacies and workings that I don't think I will ever graduate to. Like I want to because I want to have a survival skill, and this seems like a good one to make clothes. But at the same time, like it's really hard. I don't know if I can do this. And so people were like, hey, you might want to rethink this. So at first it was just a cute conversation of like, you should flip this, do the scarves and then the socks because this makes more sense in the knitter world. You can do all these things, whatever, whatnot. It was okay for a minute. Then he got onto his show, which is a YouTube show called SciShow, which talks about science. Great. He does a lot of science. He does a lot of research on different things. However, in this show, he pissed off a lot of knitters. Like, they were angry because not only did he try to, as some people would say, mansplain knitting, because he obviously doesn't know how to knit. And I say obvious because they were like, if you think socks are easier to make than scarves, and you have no idea what you're doing in general, just in general. But also because of the way that he tried to many, kind of infantilize the art of knitting, saying, almost undermining the math that goes behind it, the science that goes behind it, the layers of understanding patterns and directions and equations, and what it looks like to actually be able to create items from knitting. And so people are really, really upset. Like, I went through and looked up the Reddit comments, because at first I couldn't find the articles. I think new articles have showed up. And I've seen several TikTok videos where people are like, hey, y'all need to talk about this, and how it's just misogynistic. Like, there's just an underlying level of misogyny that you're putting to imply that knitting is not of worth value. Again, undermining something that women like to do as a mere little hobby, essentially. Again, we've talked about this previously when we talked about they don't credit like fans or any of those hobby type of things as being of importance because a woman does it or is dominated by women. And they went through and they were like, hey, so I don't understand why you would do it this way. Not only did you infantilize what we do, you also kind of undermine what we do and try to take out some of the science that does go behind knitting. Also, you were wrong. You are so blatantly wrong in what you're talking about, that all of these other YouTubers who dedicate their channels to knitting and how to knit, which I'm grateful for them because they taught me how to start. Again, haven't gone far enough to figure out how to end, but they taught me how to start. But they were like, came back and be like, these are the things that you got wrong. So they fact checked him essentially to that. But like, some of the Reddit people are upset. One says, did Hank Green just mansplain knitting? And in that, people in that Reddit was like, oh, y'all are being too sensitive and making jokes and undermining people being offended by his video and saying that they are making a drama out of nothing. Not allowing for this. And also, by the way, in another TikTok video, which I love, a creator I know, a Black creator I know, was like, oh, these white women are understanding intersectionality, about the fact that he's trying to explain something to you and saying that this is this without understanding like the intricacies and the knowledge and the depth and how it can undermine just because he's liking something, but he's trying to explain it without knowing something, and then also trying to make excuses. They're like, oh, it's a good video too. And I think a great parallel. But again, so this show undermined the app that he created because he tried to use this as a way to explain why he's not completely wrong of using socks instead of scarves. It says from this article, Vulture, they actually did write about it a couple of days ago. It says, YouTuber Deborah Knits called the SciShow video mansplaining and generally pushed back on the idea that science would legitimize knitting more than it already was. Knitting has historically been devalued because it's women's work, she says. Hank could have said, knitting is being used in physics. How cool. Instead, the way he said it came across as, knitting's kind of silly, but physics makes it serious. Again, undermine all of that. Deborah also pointed out that trial and error is also the backbone of scientific inquiry, and denigrating it as inferior to computer modeling is whack. And it goes on to say, one small detail knitters have pointed out about Green's video, turning the heel in a sock isn't the simple thing he claimed. It's real Rubicon of knitting, and a make or break that separates the true pearl heads from those who say, F it, I'm just making scarves for the rest of my life. People have died. But like, that's the thing. And he tried to undermine what this was and what it looked like, and like the level of what it's coming from, and saying, yes, science applies, so that makes it cool, instead of like knitting is just cool. So There's so many things to this that he is getting under wraps, and people are like, is he getting canceled for this knitting? And he did come back, and I did actually recently see a video. So there's a lot to this as well, of like him as a creator, having creators on pedestals without recognizing they're human and fallible. There's a lot to that, because like, yeah, people love him. I'm just not one of those people, sure. Like, there's nothing about him that's like I'm offended about, but I also don't think he's the answer to be, like, he comes off as the genius. And I'm afraid I'm going to make people upset because Hank Green lovers are very passionate about defending him. But like he's just a man. It's fine. And he's got a lot of intelligence and reads a lot and gives a lot of great information. And I listen to his information and that's great. But like, I don't cling to everything he says like that. But I know some people will. But with that, in that level of like taking something that he knows nothing about and then denigrating it because what he's created has kind of not necessarily insulted it, but just kind of like, it's not rational. It's easier to make a scarf over a sock. I feel like that's, in general, would it be an obvious?
It feels obvious to me because
maybe we know enough knitters.
I can't do either. So,
right.
But
I can barely do one.
And both, I think, require skills
that
I don't have. But I feel like a scarf is a pretty like standard pattern and straight. But a sock, you have to.
There's nuances that I don't understand. So like to see like. To understand when a knitter says this is easier than that, I feel like, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So instead of hearing that, he decided to take this show and do this thing. And there was no apology and no, like, you're right. He does say contrition in his video when addressing the SciShow issue, but he doesn't really apologize and he doesn't really offer a correction. He did get challenged at one point and said, you should try to try to yourself knit a sock without pattern and see what happens. And he was like, please don't make me do this. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if he's going to take that acceptance, maybe not. So the producer of the show, she did kind of apologize and recognize like maybe they did this incorrectly. But again, there's a lot when it comes to a community that feels like they have been taken for granted. And also in that conversation, they also talked about the fact that this was a sign of resistance. Knitting was a sign of resistance. Knitting and sewing is a show of resistance to a lot of things. We've seen this. What they did, a lot of this art that they do is a show of resistance as well and survival, if you really want to talk about it. And yeah, so the producer did say in an interview, as quoted by Daily Dot, they admitted that some terminology and visuals were incorrect. A mislabeled visual of reverse stockinette doesn't invalidate the trustworthiness and value of the science lessons in this video. They also emphasize that SciShow often simplifies material for accessibility. In this case, however, the simplifying language may have alienated knitters, which is not their intention. So there's one of the producers did acknowledge it. Hank Green, who was the face of that episode, didn't acknowledge it or hasn't really acknowledged it. And people are upset. So it's interesting to see because I think people in the knitting world have the right to be represented in a good light and in a correct light. And if they have criticism, they should be able to do this. But it's interesting that it came from an app that was about doom scrolling and focusing that involved the bean that I have named mine Blurp.
Oh.
Blurp the bean.
I like that. Yeah.
My partner has a bean named Taco.
Oh. Has it helped with your doom scrolling?
I've decorated things.
Okay.
It helps when I'm like working. It does help.
Okay.
So there you go. So I'm gonna need you to look up on the. I don't need you to look it up because you don't need focusing, but like just look at.
The bean.
Yeah, the bean. I'll send you a picture of my bean.
Please.
Oh, no.
Okay. Yeah. I do have to say, real quickly, I had not heard about any of this, but it is funny to me because I do really love this YouTube show that Seth Meyers does called Corrections. And it started in the pandemic as just the kind of absurd comedy of reading YouTube comments and trying to correct things. But he was first attacked by the Lego community. And, oh God, it's Legos. Yeah. And then he was, the knitting community came for him. It's all in good fun. So when I say came for him, it was a very like, here's what you got wrong. Here's what you say correctly. Here's how to say it correctly. And it ended up being really funny because knitters kept sending him stuff and he would wear it on the show.
Oh,
so
I feel
like the knitting community sounds fantastic. And I love you all.
Yeah. I stand with you.
Oh, I am so with you. And after that, I was writing a chapter of fan fiction and I had something about knitting in there and I wrote at the bottom, like, correct me because I know I didn't get it right. And they wrote in and I was like, thank you.
That's what we need.
It's fantastic. I enjoy it. I can't do it. It's a very valuable thing. I stand by the knitters.
Mm-hmm. Yes. We're on the side of the knitters.
We are. So if any of you listeners are knitters, please let us know. Or any creative endeavor you have. We love hearing from you. You can email us at hello@stuffInevertoldyou.com. You can also find us on Blue Sky at Mom Stuff Podcast or on Instagram and TikTok at Stuff I Never Told You. We're also on YouTube. We have new merchandise at Cotton Bureau. And we have a book you can get wherever you get your books. Thanks as always to our super producer Christina, our executive producer Maya, and our contributor Joey.
Thank you.
And thanks to you for listening. Stuff I Never Told You is production by iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, you can check out the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your favorite shows.